Okay, hello and welcome. Thanks for attending this webinar on My Accounting Lab today. I hope to get across as much information about this product as I can in about 20 minutes or so, as I know your time is valuable and you're very busy this time of year. So my name is Michael Porteous. I'm the Product Manager for Learning Technologies at Pearson Australia. I've left everybody on mute so I can move through this presentation quickly, but I appreciate that you're going to have some questions that you want to ask. So please use the question box in the My GoToWebinar tool, as you can see on the screen there. You might need to click the little red arrow on the side to open that up so you can answer your question. And I will answer those questions at the end of the webinar, and anything that I don't get time, we'll get back to you in a follow-up communication. So, what is MyAccountingLab, you might be wondering? MyAccountingLab is a web-based tutorial and assessment system that's highly flexible for your needs as an instructor, and it provides more I get it moments for students. This is a system that's used by tens of thousands of students every year all over the world, and it's continually evolving, getting better year on year on year. So this is a really powerful and well-used system. It's been around for quite a long time. And you're probably wondering, though, what's the advantage of using the system in your cost accounting subjects or any other accounting subjects? So there's a range of benefits to using MyAccountingLab, as you can see. But some of the things that we think are really key to you that you want to know is that this is a flexible online delivery. You can configure MyAccountingLab to be in as many modes as you want. We get online, blended learning, or face-to-face learning as well. You can do a lot with this and integrate it into your teaching however you want. You can save time on your assessments because the MyLab will do all the marking for you, and it will give immediate feedback to the students on how they've done. So rather than waiting for a week or so to get the results back, they're going to go straight away how they've done and what they need to improve. And you're also going to be able to take that assignment list, those test questions, and use them next semester without doing them again and again and again. The system will save that. You're going to get a huge amount of visibility into student performance through the Gradebook feature, which I'll go into more detail later. The data gathered by MyAccountingLab, it pretty much gathers every bit of data that your students do in the system as they work, and you're going to be able to have complete visibility to that. It's proven to increase students' grades. So we've got lots of efficacy studies that we've conducted, which show that there are significant improvements in student learning outcomes when using MyAccountingLab. And lastly, and perhaps not least either, is happier students. Students who engage with MyAccountingLab frequently report higher satisfaction with their accounting subjects and usually give better course evaluations as well. So these are some of the main advantages of using MyAccountingLab. They can really improve the outcomes of your students and save you a huge amount of administration time every single year or semester. But students also love MyAccountingLab for a couple of reasons. So first up, they can access this anywhere that they're online with a laptop or a PC. As long as they've got internet connection and laptops or a PC, they can do their work. So they've got a lot of flexibility in this. They can do this if they're working in between lectures or at 1 o'clock in the morning where they might be wanting to study. It doesn't matter. They've got the flexibility as long as they're online to be able to do this. They get a personalised study plan as well. So students can work through a study plan that diagnoses their weakness and lets them practice until they achieve mastery of each topic that needs working on. Engagement in course materials. So students that get practiced on this are more prepared for class, and this leads to more increased engagement and often increases attendance to class as well, we've found. When students feel more comfortable with the content because they've done the work, they'll actually come to class more and be more engaged within the lectures and tutorials. They also get help at the point of learning. This is really important to students. Rather than getting their assignments back a week or two later and then trying to remember what they did right and wrong and looking at your feedback that you might have given them, they get help as they're working. So they'll get wrong answer feedback. They'll get walkthroughs of the questions if you leave that setting on. So they're going to be able to learn just like there was a tutor helping them, basically, when they're at that point of learning, which embeds that knowledge a lot more deeply. And increased grades. Every student wants to pass their course, they want higher grades. This is going to help them. As I mentioned before, we've got efficacy studies showing that MyAccountingLab has shown to increase student learning outcomes and higher grades the more they use MyAccountingLab. So let's take a closer look at the system itself. So one of the core features of Instructor is being able to set up your assignments, obviously. And so this is going to be one of the things we're going to look at first. It's very quick, it's very simple, so let's take a look into what it looks like. So as you can see here, we've got the options to create assignments. You can create homework assignments or tests and quizzes. Tests and quizzes are tests that come with no help, none of those learning aids I mentioned. They're there to make sure that you're high stakes testing and so forth. You want to make sure you know their knowledge. Whereas homeworks have all of the help available to the students. So that's much more about learning as they're going and getting as much help moving through that assignment as possible. You can also set prerequisites, change course dates and everything on this section. So as you can see at the top there are 3 stages to this. The first is starting and just choosing the name of your assignment and so forth. And this is the main section here where you're selecting the questions that you want to assign to your students. So as you can see, you can choose the chapter that you're going to choose your questions from. You can break it down by learning objective if you want to. And down the side, we've got all the questions for, say, this is just chapter 1 here. When you hover over a question, you'll also get a really quick snapshot of what that question looks like as well. So you can take a little bit of a look and see what you want to add. Select them, add them, and you'll see them come up in the list of your assignment there, as well as what weighting you're going to give to each question, because some might only be worth 1 mark, some might be much more in depth and need more marks assigned to them. So if you click on one of those questions, you're actually going to go straight into the question and see it as well, because you want to make sure that this is going to be what you need the students to know and practice. So this is what you will see as an instructor. It's the question, but you'll see on the side here, you've got all the answers already entered for you. You can also choose to view it as a student if you want to work through it as a student as well. And up along the side here, you'll see the help the students will get with this. So there's a help me solve this, which will go through the question in more detail for them. Links to the exact e-text pages that they will need to review to learn this particular concept, a calculator if they need it, an option to contact yourself as the instructor or a tutor perhaps if they're having trouble. You can turn that on or off if you want. They can print the question if they need to. And down here are 2 options for instructors. You can ask the publisher. So this will send an email directly to our support team if you have an issue with this question. If you think something's wrong, a misspelling, or just something doesn't seem quite right or isn't working, send that to us and we'll get to fix it as soon as possible. And you can also add an instructor tip. So this is something you can add and give to the students as they get into this question. They'll also see some notes from you. So if you want to personalize it, you have the option to personalize the question a little bit as well. Also, you can go into more detail for each individual question in your assignment if you want to. You can set the number of tries for each question. You can set the student to show work. This means they have to actually put in the working out in a separate screen, and you can review that if you choose. Or they can even take a picture of their handwork on a bit of paper with their phone and upload it to the system as well. You've also got the option there to change the points value as was in the previous screen as well. So you've got a lot of options there to make sure that you're giving the test in the way that you want to. And lastly, you go into the settings option here. So this is when you set when it's available, when the students can see the assignment and begin to do it, and the due date, when the final due date for the assignment is going to happen. You can also have options for late submissions, partial credits, and a bunch of other options there to tailor it to your needs. There's also an option down the bottom here which is to include the results in the study plan. This is quite powerful. So the test that you assign will then populate what the students need to do in their personal study plan. Each student will get a different one based on their results for their tests. So I highly recommend turning that one on. So I hope you see how quick and easy that is to do. You simply go in, choose your questions, change your settings as you want them, and then bing, you put it up and the students will be able to see when their assignments are. So there is also a great feature, which is Instructor's Lab, which is the Gradebook that comes with MyAccountingLab. This allows you visibility into student performance and can be exported into your LMS if you need to as well. So as you can see here, there's a bunch of different reports that you can pull pretty much at a single click. You can look at all the assignments, an overview by student. You can look at how the students are doing their study plans. You can look at the performance by the chapter of the book as well. And you can also look at set alerts for inactivity, and you can also manage incomplete assignments. So you've got the option there to find if any students are falling behind or struggling. Yourself, or perhaps your tutors, can go in and have a look at that and see if any students need helping with. And this can prevent some, dropouts if they're not quite engaging with the subject as well as they should. And as you can see, you can also export the data there to your LMS, or just to a spreadsheet if you need to. So this is what it looks like if you're looking at the all assignment section with a couple of students. We've got there the results for how they've done, the class average, median, for the different quizzes and homeworks. You've got each individual student showing how well they've done. You can change the scores as well if you feel that they were hardly done by, or if they come asking for that. And you can drill down by clicking on each of those highlighted links into the student's performance. You actually go directly into the questions and see what they answered and how they answered it. So if they do come to you saying they were incorrectly marked, you can actually go in and find that out straight away and prove them correct or incorrect and change their marks appropriately. But most of the time, students come in and think they've been hard done by, but you'll be able to prove then that they have been marked correctly or incorrectly. This just shows the overview by student. So you can see each student and how well they've done in the homeworks, in the quizzes, the tests, or in any study plan material. So you can go and drill down by student. And you can also drill into the study plan by student to see just how they're doing in that personalised study plan of theirs. So if you're using the study plan as a key part of your implementation of MyAccountingLab, this is really useful to go see how they're doing. And if you want to see how well students are doing by chapter, so if you want to see if they're finding a particular chapter very easy or challenging, this will give you a very quick snapshot into how they're doing as a whole on those chapters. So students, of course, don't see all of that stuff. For them, it's all about doing their assignments, completing their study plan, and looking at the other resources available within the lab. So let's look at what features students most love and need. So first of all, there is the study plan. This is a personalised learning path that students can complete to make sure they master everything in this particular lab. So here we see a list of pre-test items. So they can go in and do a test based on each chapter, which will then be a diagnostic tool for the system to then apply what they actually need to know. So this is an example of just a very quick question. They've got a whole bunch, there's 8 in this one, or more perhaps, or 10. So they'll go through this and that will look at each of the learning objectives in each chapter, and it'll ask them questions based around that to see if they understand. And if they master it, they don't need to do any practice on that particular item, but those that they don't get right, they'll have to do more practice on. And that feeds into the study plan here. So as you can see here, they've got an option to practice, and practice is where they get all the help and learning aids, so they can go through and just drill and repeatedly do those questions until they're comfortable with them. And then they can try Quiz Me, which will allow them to then try to see if they've mastered those concepts. And if they have, it'll tick them off and say you've mastered that and move them on to the next section. So this is an example of one of the practice questions, and this will also be very similar to any you set as a homework question because it's got all of the learning aids here on the side. So this question has obviously some introductory information that they need, and you'll notice that there is quite a few numbers here, as I'm pointing out. Now this is an algorithmically question where each of these numbers change for every single student and each time they try it. So they can try again with different numbers to make sure that they're understanding the concept, not just learning the numbers themselves. There's also here options to open more information that they need and making sure that they've got all the details they need to answer the question correctly. You'll also notice that this has 7 parts to it. So this is a multi-part question. It's going to go quite in-depth and they've got to answer a few things in a row. At each section they'll be able to check their answer, and if they get it wrong, it'll come back with some feedback that might be able to help them, and they can try again until they flunk out of that section, and it'll move them on to the next one and give them the answer. And over the side here we've got the learning aids. So obviously a link to the e-text where they can view the exact concept they need, the right page, Ask Instructor, Calculator, and a Help Me Solve This option. So this will take the students through a sample question of this particular question, and they can practice it to their heart's content and then go back and try the question again. So this is all about practice, the power of practice, learning and then applying. This is an example of a help me solve this. So down here you can see that they've moved through a few sections, and along the way here it's actually given them the answer because they've given up on the section. So they actually have to answer each section with different numbers. As you can see here, the numbers are all different. And they go through and just try it until they master it, and they go back and answer the question itself. And this is a feature students love. And over here you can see progress through the study plan. It's showing what they've mastered, what they still need to master, and we'll keep moving them through each chapter as they go. There's also a whole bunch of other resources that students love here. So for instance, there are videos here, local and global videos based around concepts they need to know for accounting. And you can also add these as a question. You can set media questions where you get them to watch a video and then go in and answer questions as well. And all of this is then put into a dashboard. As soon as they log in, this is what they're going to see. They're going to see everything on the calendar up here, so anytime there is a homework or test, it'll note it in the upcoming weeks, so they'll know when things are going to be due. They're going to get an overall score for their subject, a course timeline, seeing how well they do, and they're going to see how far they've gone through their study plan as well. So that's really motivating for some students who want to complete everything, where they're going to see how well they're doing, and that will just keep increasing as they keep working through that study plan. You can also set your own announcements. We've got some of our own announcements, obviously, but you can put your own announcements in here as related to the lab as you like. So students have got a lot of visibility into what they need to do and when they need to do it. So hopefully you've seen some of the benefits this system brings and might be wondering how this can be integrated into your teaching. So there's quite a few ways that MyAccountingLab can be implemented, and the system is flexible enough to handle multiple modes. So the simplest option is the self-study option. This is where students purchase access to MyAccountingLab through the textbook or online, and you encourage them to do tests and their study plan. So you're making sure that they're working through this and getting their self-paced, personalised learning, and the more you encourage that, the more they get into it and the more practiced and confident they'll be in accounting. And you can also put up targeted homeworks if you want to make sure that they're doing the things that you think are important. Another option is a hurdle requirement. Sometimes instructors will set that they have to achieve a certain level of mastery in their study plan on each chapter by a certain date. And sometimes this can just mean they can work in a self-paced environment, but you've at least set that they have to move to a certain point to be able to then move on to their exam or achieve a credit or however else you want to do it. But probably the most powerful use of this is by a formative assessment and summative assessment. So using MyAccountingLab as assessment for learning, you can assign small amounts of marks, between 10 and 15% of total credit we recommend. We've done a lot of studies around the world that show this is probably the best amount that you can apply for a subject in a semester, and that'll get them most enthused to using it. You can give them those homeworks with the learning aids on, and just make sure they're getting in there and learning and practicing and drilling, and they'll come to class much more prepared and they'll do better in their final exams. But you can also use MyAccountingLab as more high-stakes testing as well by taking those learning aids away and just running it as assessments, purely to find out what their knowledge is. Or you can mix these modes. Some people often run a homework assignment and then follow that up with a more high-stakes test and making sure that they're doing their practice and then checking their knowledge. So we've talked a bit about MyAccountingLab in general, but I wanted to go in a bit more detail about what is in Cost Accounting by Horngren, the second edition. So one of the things we've done is book match the questions to the learning objectives and questions in the book. So if you're using the book quite extensively, you're going to know that most of those questions are in there are going to be mapped to a question within MyAccountingLab. So if you've got favourite questions there or ones that look good, you'll know you probably are going to find them within the lab, as long as they're a question that was going to be good for the lab. Some questions aren't suited for a lab environment. They're going to be tagged to AACSB standards as well. So each question is going to be tagged to a certain AACSB standard. So if you need to be tracking those standards in your course, you're going to know that this is a way that you can track if students have done questions associated with those standards. There's also going to be a global news feed within MyAccountingLab that students can access. So we've got RSS feeds that they can go in and see lots of stuff based around accounting from CPA and other areas. There's also a new interface design for much more ease of use. So using this system is going to be much more simple for students and instructors. And lastly, there's going to be greater integration options with this new design for integration with your learning management system. So another key benefit of using a Pearson MyLab such as MyAccountingLab is not just the system itself, but the support that we provide. So Pearson has a team of local people that can help you implement and integrate our technologies into your teaching, and they'll come and speak with you and your teaching team and your administrative people as well. And we also provide 24/7 technical support through an online website where students and instructors can go, you can email your queries, you can live chat to technical support staff as well, and you're going to be able to get your technical stuff sorted very, very quickly. And this is, as I said, 24/7, always open. And that's along with also our local team that can help you more personally. So our company tagline is always learning, and we really do try to make sure that all of our products are supported as much as possible. We really want to make sure that they achieve real learning benefits for your students and make sure you're comfortable and well supported in your teaching. Okay, so we have some time left now to answer a couple of questions. So I see a couple here. I'll answer a few of these, and if there's any that come through that I can't answer, I'll put them in a follow-up communication. So, first one, does this work on an iPad? So MyAccountingLab doesn't work on iPad yet. Some parts of it will, but some parts won't. So Pearson knows that this is a real need, that we're moving to a lot more mobile technology. We are in the process of converting our MyLabs into mobile-friendly sites, but at the moment this isn't a feature. But as soon as this comes along, we'll definitely make sure that we contact you about it. Now we've got another question here as well. So does this contain adaptive learning? Okay, so this is a good question. So there's a bit of a buzzword in education at the moment about adaptive and personalised learning. So to break it down, what we have here, in the Horngren cost accounting book, we have a personalised system where we have that study plan, but it's not adaptive. Our first year accounting books have an adaptive system, and which is not only personal, but it also adapts with every student interaction and creates a learning profile for that student on the back end. And that directs students then to concepts from in previous chapters or in later chapters. Whatever they need to be able to understand the current thing they're working on, it'll direct them to where they need the most help. So if they're having trouble in Chapter 9, but they haven't understood a concept in Chapter 4, for instance, then it'll take them back there and make sure they practice that and then bring them back to make sure they master it. So it's a truly adaptive bit of software. That's not in the Horngren cost accounting, but it is in our first year accounting MyLab. And I've got another one here as well. Where are the efficacy studies? Yeah, I mentioned that we have some efficacy studies. So I'm going to follow up with everybody in a communication where I'll link to those studies so you can look through them in more detail. So I'll just see if we've got any more questions. Okay, doesn't look like we have any more at the moment, and we're running perhaps just a little bit over time, so I will leave it there. So thank you very much for your attendance at this webinar. I hope you see how the system can be a valuable addition to your teaching, how it can really help with the learning outcomes of your students. So thanks again for attending, and we will contact you again with a follow-up communication. Thanks very much.